Welcome to the Something Better podcast. I'm Joe Conroy, Public Information Officer for the City of Bakersfield, and your host of the podcast. This week, I am joined by Jenni Byers from the Economic and Community Development Department. She's the director, and you've been in that position for 6 months or so. I know you were acting before that as well.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Okay.
With acting in this.
Yeah.
And official.
Right. So tell us a little bit about what that department is. Economic and Community Development sounds like a big, it's very broad, I guess.
Yeah, I think possibly a better name for it is really items for quality of life. So I know it's economic and community development, but we also have homeless services. We have housing division. We also have a prosperity neighborhoods unit, and then what's considered classic community development type items that we work on.
What does that mean, community development?
So we receive a funding source from Housing and Urban Development, and that's community development block grant funds. And it really is activities towards improving the quality of life for low and moderate income individuals.
Okay. You guys have a lot of programs that you're involved in, either supporting or running yourself. What do you have? First off, how many programs are there that you guys are involved in?
There's so many things that we work on. So our homeless services unit, for example, we administer HAP funding, and there's about 26 agreements, different agreements with providers for programs that assist homeless individuals. And then our housing unit, we have quite a few funding sources. So we utilize an affordable housing trust fund, but in that we also have PSVS resources. We have local housing trust fund, which is a state grant. We receive federal home funds. And so just a variety of resources go into that program. And we do things like first home buyer. We have home rehab programs. And then we have programs to assist in the construction of affordable housing units.
Okay. You mentioned the first-time homebuyer program. How does that work? What does that do for the community?
I actually love homebuyer programs and providing access for individuals to purchase homes. So the city of Bakersfield, when I started here about 2 years ago, the average across the city of homeownership was 59%. When we look at that now, it's dropped 2% to 57%. And what home ownership does for the community is it really provides the buy-in into the neighborhood that people live in. And so when we look at citywide, it's about 59%, 57%. But when you look in some of our disinvested neighborhoods, home ownership is only about 20%. And so as we start to put resources through that, through like our Transformative Climate Community Grant, our Southeast Strong initiative, if home ownership is only about 20%, we need the neighborhood to buy in more to the work that we're doing. And the way you do that is through home ownership. So that's what our home ownership program does. It is an education and then also resources for that home buyer assistance for the down payment.
Okay. And I think before we started talking, before we started recording, you had mentioned one of the reasons, or one of the income streams for the city for revenue is property tax. And so that would be included in that is home ownership?
Yeah. So every time a home is sold, that incrementally increases that property tax value. So because of Prop 13 back in 1976, I think it limited the increase that government was allowed to charge for property tax. So it only goes up a certain percentage year after year. But when you purchase a home, that increases that value.
And that means more money that the city then can put into the community, into programs like these to help either business or residents, whoever, or provide a service. So it's important to have that revenue and be able to, either increase or continue that.
Yeah. So our department, it was formed after the community approved the PSVS, and that's the Measure N, Public Safety Vital Services. And there's about 4 or 5 items that our department really touches every day. And one of those is addressing the fiscal stability of the city. And so when we look at what our general fund is made up of property tax and sales tax. And so from an economic development standpoint, if we're able to assist businesses, that increases our local sales tax. But then if we have more people purchasing homes, doing their rehabilitation, all of these things contribute to our local general fund.
And one of the ways that the city is helping businesses is the Entrepreneurship Program. I knew I'd mess that one up, but
Try spelling it.
yeah, no kidding. So that program, though, and that's relatively recent, I think in the last couple of years. What does that program do, and why has that been important, and what impact have you seen so far from it?
So utilizing our ARPA funds, and our community received a substantial amount of funding for ARPA, and that was really to address, that's the American Rescue Plan Act, and that was to address the impacts from COVID. Businesses were impacted by COVID. A lot of them had to close. And so the Entrepreneurship Program, it was a pilot program utilizing the ARPA funds. We contracted with 3 different entities. So we contracted with Bakersfield College Launchpad. We contracted with Cal State Bakersfield in partnership with the Small Business Development Center, as well as the Kern County Black Chamber of Commerce. And the goal of that program was to teach people the skills of what they need to do to either turn their side hustle into a full-time job, or a small business that had struggled through COVID to go through the steps of doing a business plan, learning about your finances, learning what the pitfalls are, how do you get a business license. So people weren't eligible for a lot of the COVID resources if they didn't have a business license. And so it was very important to teach our local businesses that. Over 700 people went through that program, and that was just a 1-year program. And it's like, that is so impactful that businesses were able to be educated in what it is to be successful. And so we are going to be extending that program for another year. But like I said, it was a pilot program and just had such a great outpouring from the community and from those who were interested in learning more.
I remember hearing it's been a great partnership with the Launchpad and CSUB and everybody. And I remember hearing from one person who had gone through it, and they said, you know, I've been running a business for so many years already at this point. I'd never written a business plan, and they taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that maybe you don't think about, as an entrepreneur and you're trying to start out a small business. It's a way to get yourself a little bit organized, and it also makes you eligible for some of these other grants and things as well, right?
It does. Not only does it make you eligible for grants, but there are other financing resources out there. I can't tell you how many businesses, when they first open, utilize their own credit. And that's great because entrepreneurs believe so much in a dream that they're going to put everything they have into it. And so I love that spirit. But there are other resources out there. And so through doing this program, through doing a business plan, they learn about their finances, but are also tied into resources like Access Plus Capital. Valley Strong is a local CDFI. That's a community development financing institution. Tri-Counties Bank has some great programs. And so it really is about expanding the ecosystem of small business.
That's awesome. And it's still going on. You said we're working on extending that for another year. So if people are still interested, they should contact the department and find out more.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shifting gears a little bit now, you guys are working on also, again, big picture things, the Consolidated Plan. Tell me a little bit about what that is. You're smiling, but I know it's a big lift for you guys. Tell us a little bit about what that means and what you need from the community.
Yeah, so Housing and Urban Development provided resources, and they started the Community Development Block Grant Program back in 1974. And ever since then, the city of Bakersfield, you look back at the 1970s, our population was about 70,000. We're now up above 400,000. And so we've had a 475% increase in our population. And with that, some of these resources have grown. But every 5 years, we have to do a consolidated plan. It's one of the requirements is to get with the community and find out what the community wants. And so it's very much a community-led initiative for us to prioritize that resource. And so we had a goal of maybe 100 surveys. It's pretty sad. what community engagement has looked like in the past. Actually, through the help of your team, we did some social media. We had 3 outreach events. We had 2 in person and 1 online. We ended up receiving, and we gave surveys to our community partners. So CapK had it. Just a bunch of other partners. I can't list all of the ones right now off the top of my head, but we ended up with over 500 surveys.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's pretty incredible to think about the people who were interested enough. And so we asked about 20 questions. It started as easy as, what zip code do you live in? We wanted to see if we were engaging with, what community was engaged with the most. The 93305 and 93306 had the most responses. And but the questions went beyond that to, where do you think these resources should be spent, knowing what the criteria of CDBG. So that it does have programs that you're allowed to do. In the past, we've done a lot of curb, gutter, sidewalk, making those safe routes to school. That's been a popular program in the past. But this year, so far, and all the data isn't quite scrubbed out because it did provide write-in opportunities, and so that's being calculated now as well. But really, affordable housing has kind of risen to the top as one of the areas of most importance. And we see that just in the fact that the city of Bakersfield is the 2nd highest in the state for rent increase. We're at 39.8% increase in our rental market since COVID. And so being the 2nd highest in the state, it's just an astounding number. And one of the things about Bakersfield, we've always said there's such affordable housing, and it's kind of growing to be not as affordable as it used to.
Oh, wow.
So when we talk about affordable housing, I'm not just talking about Section 8 or low-income housing. It's really how much people are spending on their housing compared to their income. And so I think it'll be interesting as we finish getting the survey information. We'll be taking it to council to really identify what came out and what kind of programs we could be working on. And so that'll go to council in January, and then more discussions in February before we submit it to the federal government.
Okay. Are you guys still taking feedback, or is that part kind of over now, and you guys are just kind of in the analysis phase?
Yeah, we're in the analysis phase at this point, and so we did end that. Another one, though, that rose to the top was economic development, as far as job retention and kind of not just job retention, but job availability. And so you look at some of the other things that we do. And so when I talk about quality of life, we really look at this whole picture of affordable housing. Can you live somewhere that you want to live and it be within the salary that you make? But also, what does the job opportunity look like? So we do have a couple of programs besides the entrepreneurship. We do have a workforce development program that is about being an intern or having an apprenticeship program or upskilling. We know that college isn't the only option to get a good job. There's lots of other great jobs out there in construction and in plumbing. And
those are important jobs, because if you need a house built, or an add-on, or your toilet floods or something like that, or backs up, you're going to need those people to come out, or a mechanic, or whatever it may be.
Yes, exactly. And so we do have also that program for apprenticeship and upskilling. And
Excellent. Excellent. So, this week is Thanksgiving, and everybody always looks forward to the turkey and the football and all that stuff, and family and everything. And then, of course, Black Friday with all the sales. But it's also important to not forget about our local businesses. And so on Saturday, November 30th, is Shop Small, or is it Shop Small or Shop Local? I always forget the name of it.
So locally, we do call it the Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce, or the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. They have a Shop Local, Shop Now campaign that includes a website, shoplocalshopnow.com. But the American Express Shop Local concept is Shop Small, Shop Local. I think that they call it both, but the Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce was awarded an American Express partner in the Shop Small
campaign.
Okay. Yeah, that's the right word. But they are having a press conference or a press event on Wednesday. So
Okay, the 27th?
tomorrow, the 27th, at about 11 a.m. at the Belcourt Village.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that important to, you go get your big TV or your bed or whatever you do on Black Friday. Why is it important then to not forget about these local businesses and do this on Saturday?
That's such a great question. And there's statistics out there for what the expansion of the local dollar is. And so there are statistics out there that for every $100 spent at a local business, 68 of that circulates back into the community. And it's because they're a local business owner, the employees are local, they spend their money here locally, compared to our big box where I believe it's $16 out of 100 that stay local. Otherwise it goes out to
Go somewhere
some
else.
other community.
Yeah.
So it's important to
Somebody else benefits.
Yeah, and it is our small businesses that support soccer teams and baseball teams, and
Right.
anytime you go out to a sporting event, there's the banners of a local business that is supporting our kids and are supporting our events and are
And the community.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if we don't spend our money at some of these places, then we don't have those benefits maybe those sports leagues go away or these other community events go away and we can't support those as much.
Exactly.
So it's really important to do that. So if you're listening to us, don't forget to go on Black Friday and you can spend your money there, but save some money for local businesses as well and do that on Saturday and help support a local entrepreneur. And so, as we're wrapping up here, I want to remind everybody, please be sure to like and follow our podcast wherever it is you may be listening or downloading. And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating if you're really liking what you're hearing. So again, my name is Joe Conroy. I was joined by Jenni Byers, our Director of the Economic and Community Development Department. Thank you, Jenni, for being here and talking about everything your department's doing. And we've only scratched the surface, so I know we'll have you back at some point, or somebody from the department. And so, thank you very much for being here today. And that'll be it for the Something Better podcast.
Yeah, thank you for asking me to be here. I really appreciate the work that our department does.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll catch you guys in the next one.